How to memorize more and faster than other people. Before you start, know your learning style. If you're an auditory learner, then the most effective way for you to grasp information is by hearing it. As you can imagine, visual learners favor seeing something in order to learn it. Experiential learning types are more likely to learn from events and experiences, or doing something with the material. Most of us are a combination of at least two of these categories. Follow the steps below to start your memory training and store all of those useful pieces of information in your long-term memory.
First, prepare. To optimize your memorization session and learn how to memorize something fast, pay close attention to which environment you choose. For most people, this means choosing an area with few distractions, though some people do thrive off of learning in public areas. Figure out what is most conducive to your learning so that you can get started. Next, start drinking some tea. I could link you to mounds of scientific studies that confirm green tea as a natural catalyst for improving memory. Our ability to recall information comes down to the strength between neurons in our mind, which are connected by synapses. As we get older, toxic chemicals will damage our neurons and synapses, leading to memory loss and even Alzheimer's. Green tea contains compounds that block this toxicity and keep your brain cells working properly a lot longer.
Second, record what you're memorizing. This is especially useful if you're trying to memorize information from a lecture. Use a tape recorder to track all of the acquired facts being spoken and listen to it. If you're doing something more complicated, like learning a foreign language, it may be useful to make note cards of the new words you're trying to memorize. If you're trying to memorize a speech, record yourself reading the speech aloud and listen to yourself speaking. Obviously, this is most helpful for auditory learners.
Third, write everything down. Before you start trying to recall everything from memory, write and rewrite the information. This will help you become more familiar with what you're trying to memorize. Of course, we said above that repetition isn't always the best way to memorize something, but this can be great for visual learners, as you'll be able to see the information in front of you. Doing this while listening to the recordings can also help you retain a lot of the data. This is most useful for experiential learners.
4. Section your notes. Now that you have everything written down in one set of notes, separate them into sections. This is ideal for visual learners, especially if you use color coding to differentiate between subjects. This will help you break everything down and start compartmentalizing the information being recorded in your brain.
5. Use the memory palace technique. A great way to section off information is through the memory palace technique 1. This is especially good for visual learners, but it can also work as a sort of experience for experiential learners, and if you say the path out loud, it can work for auditory learners as well. There are several steps to this technique, but it basically involves choosing a place you know well, identifying its distinctive features, and using those features to store bits of information you want to remember. For example, if you're working on learning how to memorize lines, you can find a place in your memory palace for each line of text, and as you're reciting them when the time comes, you'll simply have to walk through the room to pick up each line of text in the correct order. When everything has its place, it'll be waiting for you to retrieve it.
6. Apply repetition to cumulative memorization. For each line of text, repeat it a few times and try to recall it without looking. As you memorize each set of text, be cumulative by adding the new information to what you've just learned. This will keep everything within your short-term memory from fading. How does this work? It's actually related to two distinct modes of brain functioning, System 1 and System 2. Do not move on to another section until you have memorized that one completely. This is mostly visual learning, but if you are speaking aloud, then you are also applying auditory.
7. Teach it to someone. Studies have shown that teaching information to someone is a surefire way to remember that information, as it requires you to retrieve the information from your own memory. You can do this in a variety of ways. You can lecture the knowledge to someone sitting right in front of you, or the mirror. If you can't convince anyone to sit through it, if what you've learned needs to be recited verbatim, then do this in front of someone as well in order to get a feel for what it will be like to recite the text to the intended audience.
8. Listen to the recordings continuously. While doing unrelated tasks like laundry or driving, go over the information again by listening to your recordings. This is certainly auditory learning, but it will still supplement everything you've shoved into your short-term memory.
9. Take a break. Finally, let your mind breathe. Go for a short time without thinking about what you just learned and come back to it later on. Better yet, get out and take a walk while you're on your break in order to absorb the benefits of being in nature.
Final thoughts. Whether you're learning how to memorize a speech, learn a new language, or cramming for tomorrow's exam, memory serves us in nearly every area of our lives. Once you learn how to memorize information faster and more efficiently, you'll put yourself ahead of the pack of those who are still struggling to remember and recall necessary bits of information. Get started today.